Good morning, Wabash. Today speaking in Pioneer Chapel is Coach Olmy Olmstead. Coach Olmstead is entering his 6th year coaching at Wabash and his 15th year overall coaching college football. Giving his talk titled, Is Kipling's If in Full Effect at Wabash College? Please welcome Coach Olmstead.
Thank you. Good morning, Wabash.
Good morning.
Thank you, Sphinx Club, for the opportunity. What a tremendous honor. This will be my 3rd chapel talk, my first as a senior in 2004, and my 2nd soon after I was hired to return to Wabash in 2013. I look out amongst you all, and I see so many friends and mentors, so many people who are truly important to me, people that define who I am. This truly is a very special occasion for me. Wabash makes me feel like I belong, and for that, I will forever be thankful. I do want to mention a special thank you to Jeff Beck, in attendance today, for allowing me to bounce some ideas off of him in preparation for this. I know it comes as quite a shock to many of you that I'm not overly familiar with the inner workings of the library. I mention him, one, to thank Jeff for all of his hard work and dedication to Wabash. He truly is some little giant. But also, two, if this stinks, we can all blame him. So, early in my career as a graduate assistant, I scratched and clawed to find opportunities during the summer months while the full-time guys had some time off. College football is a funky profession. You grind it out, sink or swim. If you're going to make it, you better hunt for every opportunity you can to make connections and grow your portfolio. Some make it, and some don't. The smart ones actually wake up and use their degree to make some money. All jokes aside, though, coaching is a great profession, and I do love it. I love coaching football not because of the great wins or the big crowds, but because of the lessons football teaches, and because it gives me an opportunity to be around all of you. For several summers, I worked as a guest coach and a football camp counselor at a handful of schools, one of those being the University of Michigan, where I was fortunate to be around some great coaches and better men. Guys such as Steve Szabo, Steve Stripling, Lloyd Carr. To folks outside of football, these names probably don't mean much, but these men have all had incredible careers influencing young men. Talk about acting like a sponge. I tried to soak up as much as I could, as much knowledge as I could find from them. Lloyd Carr introduced me to Rudyard Kipling's poem, If. His favorite poem soon became mine, and I'd like to share it with you today. So, is Kipling's If in full effect at Wabash College? Let us consider the 4 stanzas and how they may relate to your experience at Wabash. If, by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. That's the first stanza. My take from this: be confident in your decisions. Take responsibility for your decisions. If and when others do not take responsibility for their decisions and begin to place blame elsewhere do not sink to their level. My challenge here would be this. Sure, do not sink to their level, but to perhaps influence them to make better choices, to accept responsibility for their own actions and decisions and be accountable. Oftentimes, one may fall into the trap of feeling sorry for oneself when things don't go as planned. In Woody Hayes' commencement speech to the graduating class at The Ohio State University in 1986, he advised the graduating class that they could not afford ever to feel sorry for themselves, as that is what leads to actions that would tear oneself apart. Instead, I say, surround yourself with people who are successful and attempt to emulate the characteristics they exude that assist them in being successful. Finally, in this stanza, do not think that you are above anyone else. Coach Hayes, again in 1973, wrote that he would be doing his student athletes a disservice if he allowed them to believe that their successes makes them a privileged person. Annually, Bo Schembechler would address his organization in a similar manner with different words. You don't treat the so-called little people poorly because we don't have any little people here. The trainers, the managers, the secretaries, the people who work in the dorms and cafeterias and classroom buildings are all professionals, and they're important, or they would not be working for Michigan football. So you will treat them all accordingly. They owe you nothing. You owe them your gratitude. Those were Bo Schembechler's words, and no one said it better than him. Let's attempt to slightly reword this to fit us. You do not treat the so-called little people poorly because we don't have any little people here. The custodians, the maintenance crew, campus services, the people who work in the dorms and fraternities and cafeterias and classroom buildings, they're all professionals and they are important, or they would not be working for Wabash College. So you should treat them all accordingly. They owe you nothing. You owe them your gratitude. Personally, I do not care who you are or what you have accomplished. Remember Kipling's words. And yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. Second stanza. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you have gave to your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. My interpretation of Kipling's words here, be aware of obsession and addiction, and do not let dreams control your every thought and action. Think and act upon your dreams in healthy relation to what requires attention immediately. Now, this one is hard. Beware of complacency and be consistent regardless of the outcome. Again, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. Now, this talk is not about football specifically, but I'm a football coach. In 2016, Wabash lost the bell game. In 2017, just months ago, Wabash won the bell game. Does your level of intensity, focus, or preparation for November 10th, 2018 change simply because we have the bell in our possession? If you're not a football fan, I'm sure you can relate this to your own interests. In April of 2015, during senior chapel, Ryan Horner stood right here and spoke these words. The real hero's journey, I'm convinced, is not the climb upward that ends in success and glory. The hero's journey is the spiral downwards, the elegant fall. It's taking life's worst without losing yourself, without letting the losses make a monster of you. It's in keeping that smile." End quote. Final point on this stanza. When something you care about is destroyed or diminished, if you truly care about it, take the time to fix it. On this point, I was disheartened in February 2017, a little over a year ago today, to receive an all-campus email from Dr. Koppelman informing us of some type of vandalism on the walls in the library. First off, if this was you, to hell with you. More importantly, influence those around you. John Maxwell defines leadership as influence. Therefore, one could either be a positive or a negative leader, just as one could have a positive or a negative influence. If you see something occurring that you know is not right and you do nothing, you are condoning this action, thus having a negative influence on those around you. You are a negative leader on our campus. If we truly are a unique, tightly bound brotherhood, should we not lift each other up and make good decisions together? Again, holding one another accountable. Further, I am disheartened to find that the Academic Dishonesty Committee is not bored to death here. Seriously, that's garbage. To quote Coach Hayes, "I don't want any damn cheaters around me. If a man will cheat, he'll break his word. The first thing I want is character." In a recent casual conversation I had with one of our coaches, Jeff Ramsey, who's been coaching college football for 37 years, I asked him what quality he most values in an assistant coach. And you know what he said? His answer was loyalty. It was loyalty. Be a positive influence. Lead effectively. And be true to yourself and to Wabash, if you truly care about this place. Third stanza. If you can make a heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and hold on when there is nothing in you except for the will that says, hold on. From this stanza, take risks. And if you risk it all and lose, start over. Public figure Marilyn Vos-Savant said this: "Being defeated is often a temporary condition. Giving up is what makes it permanent." Step outside your comfort zone. Sometimes you have to be uncomfortable to learn or improve. When the pressure is on, you perform or you get fired. Welcome to the real world. When you're exhausted, press on, catch up, accelerate, pursue. I don't know if any of you saw the Olympic contest on February 11th, the 30-kilometer skiing event. Norway's Kruger slipped and fell on the first lap of an 18-mile race. He untangled his legs and his skis and grabbed his broken pole that snapped in half and stormed up the hill to get back into contention. Long story short, he passed 63 skiers to take the lead and win the gold medal. I wonder if Kruger has ever read the third stanza of Kipling's If. Fourth and final stanza. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son. My personal interpretation of the final stanza: stand up for your personal beliefs. Yet keep an open mind. Objectivity is a priceless quality. Just ask Dr. Rick Warner, who's my former advisor, mentor, and now a great friend. Develop the ability to relate to others, regardless of rank or status. I must say that I truly love being involved with the Student Life Committee here. At any other institution for which I have coached, if they asked me to be a part of the Student Life panel, I'd probably tell them to kick rocks. But not here. Why? I will say that I care a ton about Wabash football. I invested a ton of time and effort here and had a fine career as a football-specific student athlete. Now it pays my bills. However, I don't care nearly as much about Wabash football as I do the success of our college. I love being a part of the Student Life Committee at Wabash because the overall Wabash experience is so critical to the future success of our college. In recent sophomore interviews, I was somewhat troubled to hear some students suggest ideas on how Wabash could improve, including these thoughts. Wabash could stand to be more understanding of others' struggles. Wabash could stand to be more understanding of others' struggles. Or Wabash could be more inviting. Through further investigation, I found that these individuals were not referring to administration or a single act, but simply requesting some consideration from the campus community. This made me begin to evaluate my own viewpoint and actions towards those around me. Then I began to do some digging. In a 2013 chapel talk, Dr. Laura Wysocki said this: "Always means always. You never know when someone might need a little support, so you should be ready with it at all times." Later, if you're dealing with something, it's okay to ask for help. The community of Wabash always fights, and you're a part of that community. We all struggle at some point. If you're not at the time, find someone around you who may be and help them rise. Be contagious. If you are struggling, use the support system you have around you. Now, in no way am I condoning apathy. In fact, it's just the opposite. Take advantages of the resources you have available to you and get your tail back on the right track. Next point from the final stanza: know what you stand for. This one's pretty simple. Do you like who you see when you brush your teeth? Yeah? Good for you. Now go positively influence others. No? Have the courage to fix it. Be resourceful and rely on your support system. In the same talk later, Dr. Wysocki said this: "Some people choose the easy path and allow their setbacks and circumstances to define them. And for some, that's okay. They can find happiness in their own ways. But some people face adversity and choose another option. They decide to define themselves." Think about that. They decide to define themselves. Final point in the stanza: be dependable, but not abused or taken advantage of. Furthermore, do not abuse or take advantage. I was disappointed to learn of some Wabash men who are or have been involved with academic improvement plans, simply going through the motions. There are people at Wabash College who are dedicated to helping you achieve academic success, attempting to assist you to climb out of the hole that you've created for yourself. Depend on the resources available to you, but do not use these programs or take advantage of those willing to assist you. You are only doing yourself a disservice. In 1973, again, Woody Hayes wrote that one way he refused to do a disservice to a player would be to do for him something that he can do for himself, and thereby reduce his initiative and ingenuity. Later, he said in an interview that nothing that comes easy is worth a dime. If you give a man something he hasn't earned, you cheapen him. You cheapen him. I will encourage you to consider Coach Hayes' words when following instructions or suggestions for improvement. You have to make the choice. You have to own it if it is to work. At Michigan State, I heard firsthand Ken Manny tell those in his organization that their names go on everything they do. Every day, your name goes on your product. Every day is a job interview. So, is Kipling's if in full effect at Wabash College? Full effect? No, probably not. I would argue that his proposition is never completely attainable. But you're close. Does any of this sound familiar? Within the metaphorical guidelines of the gentleman's rule, I bet there'd be a copy of Kipling's if. Why am I getting on you about details? I use specifically the word details instead of little things, because the little things are not important. When someone says do the little things right, I believe what they actually mean is pay attention to the details. They are not little things. Those so-called little things are the overly important details between pursuing excellence and just hanging in there. In 2016, Bo Schembechler wrote that every organization and every employee needs the occasional kick in the pants to give their absolute best. He continued later with, I've always maintained that people secretly want to be disciplined, even young people. They want strict limits. They want to be sharp. And they want to feel like they're special. Well, you are. Now live up to it. Not entitled, not privileged, just different. And that's why you came here. In 1963, at the President's Breakfast for Seniors, Dean Benjamin A. Rogie said this, but most of all, this is a college which seems to be able to influence the lives of those young men who attend it, to provide them with an experience strong in its impact on what they are, what they think and say and do, and how they think and say and do it. It is a college which commands affection and loyalty, and at its best is a lifelong inspiration to us, to its graduates, to seek to become something better than they are. Never content, continue to seek to become something better than you are. Finally, I am proud to be here. And Laura and I are proud to raise our family in this community. Thank you. Wabash always fights.